We've already explored the minimum amount of bosses required to get the Moonlight Greatsword throughout the Dark Souls trilogy. Now it's time to see how many are required for its equivalent in that Elden Ring game everyone seems to like. I will preface this video by saying I haven't dove super deep into Elden Ring and its various glitches and mechanics yet, so apologies if I've gotten anything wrong. With that said, let's begin. When I start research for one of these videos, I like to see what's possible on the current patch version of the game before looking at older versions. And my initial research on current patch wasn't looking great. Loretta is the first required boss. You can cheese her by saving and quitting in this corner to load back in with her AI disabled. While cheese is cool, this doesn't help us skip her. I couldn't find anything about skipping to the Three Sisters on current patch, so we're already up to one boss. From there we can speak to Ranni and start her quest, which leads to us getting the Dark Moon Greatsword. Now there is a trick involving making a few precise jumps using Torrent to get into Renna's Rise early. The portal up top is active regardless of the state of Ranni's quest. This would allow us to skip both Radahn and the Mimic tier, as we'd never have to collect the Fingerslayer Blade. Unfortunately for us, this part of the quest has proper sanity checks, and miniature Ranni won't be there to progress the quest to this section. It is possible to navigate all the way to Estelle and beat him now, but you'll be blocked from progressing to the Moonlight Altar as we don't have the ring. We'll need to proceed through Ranni's quest as normal, heading to Nokron. Now, one of the portals at the 4 belfries takes you to Nokron. You're only intended to be able to preview the area from this point, but fortunately for us, Elden Ring is still built off of the old Souls engine, and is subject to one of the engine's old glitches. The Force Quit Wrong Warp. Yep, that same glitch from Dark Souls 1 is still here in Elden Ring. Warp somewhere and force quit out of the game during the last few frames of the loading screen, and you'll end up at an arbitrary failsafe point of the area you were just in. In this case, it happens to be right in front of the Mimic Tier's boss room. Doing this lets us skip Radahn, but there's no known current patch skip for the Mimic Tier, so best to just take off all of your equipment and cheese it. From there, grab the Fingerslayer Blade and return to Ranni. This opens up Renna's Rise, so that difficult skip I showed earlier is completely useless for getting the Dark Moon Greatsword. This time, miniature Ranni will be there, and you can talk to her to continue the quest. Next, take out the Baleful Shadow to get the discarded Palace Key. We have to beat Rennala to be able to access the chest the key belongs to, and in order to get to her, we have to beat the Red Wolf. There is a known skip for the Red Wolf on current patch, but it requires the Hand of Millennia, so we wouldn't save any bosses doing the skip. Finally, we have to beat Rennala. With her defeat, we can get the Dark Moon Ring, get to the elevator past Estelle, and make our way to Ranni to finally get the Dark Moon Greatsword. So after all of that, we were only able to skip a single boss. At this point, I was about to go back to an older version of the game, as skipping a single boss would make for a pretty boring video. But then I learned of something that changed everything. Something that would allow us to get the Dark Moon Greatsword in 0 bosses on current patch, which is 1.16 at the time of this video, and hopefully they won't fix it. Starting off, class doesn't matter too much. The prisoner requires the least amount of levels to wield the greatsword, but starting off as a bandit or samurai will save you from having to buy a bow. It doesn't really matter too much though, so pick whatever you want. Starting off the run, avoid the Grafted Scion by jumping off the cliff. Arriving in the main section of the game, our first goal is to get Torrent. So head to the Gatefront site and rest at it to get our trusty horse cow thing. With Torrent, head a bit south and collect the map. If you started as a class without a bow, we'll need a few runes to get us started. So continue southeast, across the bridge with the Knights Cavalry, make a left turn, and cross the piece of destroyed tower acting as a bridge with Kenneth Height on it. Just to the right after you cross the makeshift bridge will be a group of coffins you can loot for more than enough runes. When you're done looting the coffins, head west from the Church of Ella to get down to the beach, then head south to the Merchant. If you're playing as any class other than the prisoner, you'll want to pop a rune 1 and 2 to get 600 runes for the bow. If you're playing as a prisoner, you'll want to pop a rune 2 and 4 instead to get 1600 runes, as you'll also want to buy the iron round shield, for reasons I'll explain later. With everything we need, we can now return to the gatefront site and make our way through Stormgate. I'm sure 99% of you will already know this by now, but from Stormhill, if instead of following the road that leads to Margit, you instead continue under the bridge, you'll arrive at another broken bridge. If you follow the path off of the broken end of this bridge, you'll bypass all of Stormvale Castle and arrive at Liurnia of the Lakes. From here, you'll want to open your map and put a marker on the next map fragment indicator, as that's going to be our next destination. After grabbing the map, turn immediately to your right towards the Purified Ruins. Make your way up the hill of the ruins, and you'll see a triple archway. Head straight towards it, and inside will be a teleporter you'll want to use. The teleporter will send you right to the entrance of the Academy. From here, head south and follow this path to quickly get down to the Academy Gate Town. Open up your map again, mark the map fragment, and head straight there. After grabbing the fragment, open up your map again and mark this gazebo as it's our next destination. You'll find another teleporter inside, which will take us to West Liurnia, right next to the map fragment. Head a bit south to grab the nearby site, then head north through the ruins and break the illusory wall that leads to Iji. Open the map to mark this rock formation acting as a bridge, and then head across it. Start heading north from the Bellum Church. If you stick to the left side, you can avoid all of the enemies. Grab the Grand Lift site, then head back outside, and start heading due south. We're now going to make our way up the hill leading towards the Frenzy Flaming Tower. Stick to the right side so you can take cover when the flame pops up, until you get to the rock wall the tower is sitting on. From there, carry on east to grab the nearby site. Head around the left wall of the Frenzied Flame Village, and when you're out of range of the flame, put a marker here on the map. This is where we'll find the item that's key to all of this. Continue through the Old Palace ruins, past all of the Minotaur things, and you'll find a site of grace right next to our marker. Carry on to the marker, and on a corpse overlooking the cliff, you'll find a Frenzy Flame Stone. This is the reason we came all the way here. Return to the northern Liurnia Lakeshore site, and from there, head straight south towards the 4 belfries. Make your way up the mountain, all the way to the site at the top. Now, if we look off in the distance, we can actually see the Moonlight Altar in the background. If only we could get over there. Anyway, time to set up our equipment. Set up your hotbar with the Crimson Flask, the Frenzy Flame Stone, and the Spectral Steed Whistle. You'll also want to equip your bow to your right hand and your shield to your left hand. If you're a prisoner, use the Iron Round Shield, not the Rift Shield. You'll also want to remove all of your armor if you're wearing any. When you're set up, I strongly recommend quitting out and backing up your save. Now for the hard part. Throw the Frenzy Flame Stone, hold block, and summon Torrent so the timing of the animation of getting on him triggers at the same time Madness procs. I try to use the whistle right as the Madness bar ticks down once after it does the final jump before it procs. You'll know you've done it successfully if the bow zooms in when you summon Torrent, but you don't actually get on him. After a couple seconds, the bow will zoom out and you'll only be able to run directly forward. But now, gravity no longer affects you. Elden Ring really is Dark Souls 2, too. With the setup I've shown here, you'll have 3 chances to pull off the glitch before the Frenzy Flame Stone wears out. You'll need to heal between the 2nd and 3rd procs, or the 3rd proc will kill you. While running through the air, if you let go of block at any point, you'll be warped back to Torrent. So don't let go. This glitch is also harder to pull off at higher frame rates, so if you're on PC, you'll want to lock it to 60 at most. This is a glitch called Legacy, a play on the Pegasus glitch in older versions of the game that let you ride Torrent through the air. It was discovered by UDiv, with testing done by Lumi and Verazi. I'll leave a link to Verazi's document on the glitch in the description, which explains it much more thoroughly than I've done here. The reason we backed up our save before performing the glitch is that the Frenzy Flame Stone we picked up is the only one available to us without killing a boss. It is possible to craft more, but you need to beat Moog in the subterranean shunning grounds to be able to get the crafting recipe. You can also perform the glitch using lulling branches to proc sleep instead of madness, but that requires us to go into the DLC, which requires us to beat bosses. From what I can tell, this Frenzy Flamestone is the only means of performing this glitch without killing a boss, but if I've missed something, let me know. Because we had to proc madness to perform the glitch, we don't want any madness resistance, which is why we had to replace our shield as the prisoner. As we approach the altar, we'll want to change direction towards the Everjail. This can be done by angling the camera towards it, then rolling at least twice. When you get over top of it, jump, and you can finally let go of block. You'll be stuck floating in the air, where the fall timer will eventually kill you. Fortunately, this allows us to spawn at the nearby state of America, giving us easy access to the altar. From here, we just need to make our way up to the Cathedral of Manus Celis, drop down the hole, and we'll find Ronnie there waiting for us. So remember how they implemented sanity checks earlier in the quest? Well, they didn't bother to do any of that here. So we can proceed to use a ring we don't have to get married to a possessed doll we've never met, and receive the Dark Moon Greatsword as our reward. And so even on current patch, the Dark Moon Greatsword is obtainable in 0 bosses. That's about it for this video. I hope you found it helpful or entertaining, and I will see you guys in another video.